Did I hear you right, by the way, on a different podcast? You invited a bunch of guests on a virtual yacht to go stargazing, so to speak. Is that what happened?
We did, but that was in the engagevr.io environment. And Garrett and I, my son and I, put on a presentation just like we're going to do Wednesday night. You guys are invited. Wednesday at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, we're going to have a Metaverse meetup. And I shared the link in today's LinkedIn newsletter, but I'll get it over to you guys
Okay.
after the show. And we're just encouraging everyone to join us. And we're going to walk through spatial. And then I've got a couple of guests that are going to be transporting us with just a click over into their spatial sites so that everyone can see all the different things that we can do in the metaverse. But on that yacht, beautiful yacht, where we all stood on the bow of the yacht and looked at about a 200-foot screen over the ocean under the stars of a video presentation. And everybody really enjoyed it. And then what we did is we clicked a couple of links and took some decision makers back into our virtual conference rooms and then closed some deals. So it's like a two-step
We're all humans,
process.
right? Like no matter how much technology we adopt or use to augment our life experiences, we are all human beings, right? You talked about empathy and trial these days, whether it's a claims
Yeah.
adjuster you're looking to persuade and a colleague that you're looking to have join you or whatever it is, some vendor. I mean, if you can bring someone into a virtual experience that is compelling, exciting, I mean, even John's excitement, right? Like you're going to get them to want to be engaged and continue to re-engage with you. And ultimately that's going to know your benefit, potentially your client's benefit on the context. That's really good. You know, John and I have talked for months about this, and I mean, it's an open idea out there. I just toss it out there because somebody smarter than us needs to figure it out. But I look at court filings and dockets themselves as like the most logical step one for adoption of blockchain technology with some integrations of NFTs, right? Every filing that's made could be an NFT, verify who filed it, whatever, what court it belongs to. It's so weird. I don't know how it is in California, but in Florida, in state courts, it seems like every county has a different online database to query.
Same here.
Yeah. And it's just so inefficient. And like, even when you can figure them out, they're not really data driven, right? I mean, you're searching first, last name, case name. You can't really do anything with the data. You can't really verify anything. You're kind of like in this independent silo. You got to start with data in order to find it. But I feel like, I don't know about you, Mitch, but I really feel like Pacer, for example, in the federal scale, right? It's one system for everything. That's uniquely adaptable to a blockchain. I would think that's immutable and transparent. And everybody could easily tap into and verify things. And that way it's like, if I want to see, hey, what does Mitch Jackson file? Boom. You could sort by maybe a wallet address or whatever they're going to call it. And you could immediately pull everything up instantly instead of being on a wild goose chase. You know?
I think that's brilliant. I think you could also piggyback onto that smart contract technology so that when something's filed via an NFT on the blockchain, like what you're talking about. So for the average lawyer, we're talking about how we already upload our PDFs into our platform, click a button, and it's filed with the court. We're already doing that.
Right.
At least we're doing that here in California.
Right.
Super easy. When you click that button, instead of it just filing an NFT with the court, what's going to happen is going to convert that document, that pleading, that motion, that opposition into an NFT on the blockchain that's connected to a smart contract. And instantly what's going to happen is you'll automatically get that hearing date. You're not going to have to try to figure out what that hearing date is. That hearing date will be assigned based upon what all opposing counsel have already put into the database, based upon the court schedule, based upon the rules of civil procedure, the local rules of court. Everything will be automated and confirmed. And you're going to be able to ascertain who's behind each motion, what changes were made, almost instantly. What I've thought about, Jordan, is the same type of approach. And this is going to happen. It's happening in real estate right now with respect to deeds and escrow agreements. What I see happening is in the discovery process. Imagine in a complicated case, you click and create an NFT, which is actually asking the other side to respond to interrogatories. What then happens is AI, utilized by the other side, independently ships out to 100 different lawyers within a database to answer each specific question, because that's what they specialize in. in response to that written discovery, for example. All of this could happen within a day. If you've got one lawyer that focuses on one particular question on any particular day, you're going to be able to respond to discovery a lot faster and a lot more thorough in this process. The smart contract looks for conflicts of interest because of AI, so you're not going to have to worry about that. It's going to make us faster and more efficient. It's going to help us avoid mistakes. And I think for the lawyers that embrace this technology, it's going to help you build your brand. So even if you're in the metaverse right now, today, like what we're talking about is several years out, but it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But today, if you're that lawyer that has a metaverse virtual office option, or if you're that lawyer that's already creating NFTs, which is pretty easy to do, you're going to set yourself apart from all the other competition in town. You're going to be that lawyer people are talking about. And I think that's something that a lot of lawyers are missing out on, is just by being new, just by me being one of the first lawyers on social media, have a website, live video shows, it really helped me amplify my brand in a way that would not have been possible had I not taken that risk, had I not put myself out there. I think the same thing's going to happen with Web3 and the metaverse. The lawyers that are embracing this and are promoting it and branding themselves around this and doing it in good faith and from the right perspective, they're the lawyers that can really stand out from all the other lawyers in town. So that's why I'm super excited about this, because not only does it work and it's going to help us create better client experiences, it's also a great way to brand and market our practices.
Yeah, and you mentioned that earlier, and you kind of say, look, you have this aspect, right? Your practice, you're building, you're setting yourself apart, being the voice above the noise, especially in Southern California. Here in South Florida, there are a lot of big trial lawyers, big firms, and myself and Jordan, we started maybe 4 years ago. We had our own thing separately. We've now joined forces. So it's like, how do you distinguish yourself amongst everyone else, right? You can be the best lawyer, but if no one knows about you, it doesn't mean anything, right? You don't have a client. So being able to do what you're talking about is setting yourself up to stand out from everyone, meaning in a year and two when everyone's looking, oh, wow, look what they've done. Now we want to get the adoption. It's too late. We're the ones now leading the pack, kind of like what you're doing. I'm literally sitting over here getting excited about establishing this virtual. I mean, for Wednesday, I have a question. Do I need the Oculus too? Because I
mean, if you have one, get one. But
don't let him fool you. He's already making mental notes. He's going to buy one right after.
So you can use your phone, your laptop, your desktop, okay, and spatial. Every platform I mentioned, you can use all these other devices. The Oculus, you're going to want to give me a knuckle bump because you're going to feel like you're right there.
Well, that's what I want. I want that full experience.
And John, you mentioned something that like you could start doing this week. You could set up your virtual courtroom. It takes about 60 seconds. It's a template. Click and you set it up in the engagevr.io platform. You could start meeting local members of your community. Hey, ever wonder what a courtroom looks like? Want to know what it's like to sit in the jury box? Want to know what it's like to put me on the stand and cross-examine a lawyer as a hostile witness? Join us each Thursday night. That's where we meet up. That's what we do. And while we're in the courtroom, we're going to answer your questions. If you want to have a private meeting, we can click a button and send you over to our private virtual conference room and have a conversation after the 30-minute meet and greet. There's all kinds of ways that you can take advantage of pulling back the curtains and showing the consumer what you haven't been able to do in the past without renting out a courtroom, spending a lot of money, right? Getting your jury pool in there. You can even have members of your firm or members of your family serve as jurors, and they're in the jury box and they're listening to the arguments, or they're part of the evening festivities. I mean, there's just all types of ways that you can do things right now in an inexpensive fashion that I think the community would be interested in, and I think it would add value to your brand.
This is great. This is something we have to do. I can tell Joy. I just recently started really pushing my social media, like TikTok videos and all this. I mean, I'm doing 3 a day every day, and I'm going to do that, and I'm excited to do that. So now, segueing into this, it's just another thing to really grab a hold of now that I'm amazed at what you're doing. And
I tell people all the time, because I think no matter where you live, I've traveled enough to have a pretty good idea of a consensus. No matter where you live, if you go on a highway, odds are you see a billboard within 5 minutes of a plaintiff personal injury lawyer.
You might. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm like this. When I'm a passenger, I'm looking down at my phone.
Well, but the point is they're out there, right? They're
Yeah.
they're begging to be looked at, and regardless of whether you want to do it or not, that's not the point. The point is that had a day. It's still there, but the question I have in my mind is, one day, our advertisements in the metaverse, is that going to be where the eyes are? Is that going to be where the attention is? I think probably yes, and if so, it's a great benefit to be an early adopter, to get comfortable, like you're saying, setting up offices, setting up conference rooms, meetings. There's so many different projects. One of them, John and I did a brief demo called Blocktopia. It's a very hyper realistic virtual reality. I don't think it's live yet, but the point is, they've got storefronts, digital billboards in there. You can kind of see what 5 years from now, let's say, it's going to be, and that's where it's going to be. That's where the attention is going to be. And I think it's better to embrace it than it is to resist it. But, we've talked, look, you're a trial lawyer with tons of experience, and we've talked about trial a little bit here and there, mock trials and all that. One of the things John and I started doing a lot recently is focus grouping our cases before trial in a very substantial way. Years ago, John and I would try and haphazardly put it together, through Craigslist ads and whatever. But now we've gone out, we hire these wonderful consulting agencies who do a great job. But it begs the question for me, at the end of the day, they're still sending information through the internet, presenting videos to these people typically through the internet, or written arguments. Or the point is, maybe the metaverse is that next place where you can get really good data from a focus group that could really change the outcome of your entire case strategy.
Absolutely. Just like that, they have conference facilities where you're in an amphitheater and you've got 200 potential jurors that are volunteering for whatever reason, right? To listen to your opening statement, or to listen to the 3 or 4 key issues in your case. And you can have real-time feedback in the metaverse. I think what's interesting, what people, until you've done it, you really don't appreciate this, but with an Oculus headset, with this headset right here, my understanding is within 20 minutes, the companies behind these types of technologies are accumulating about 2 billion different data points for every 20 minutes. And so what happens is, because of the cameras in these systems, you can see people's facial expressions. You can see them open their eyes or shake their head. And one of the things that we talk about with our consulting clients is, it's one thing to understand everything that we've been talking about and to create your metaverse office and to jump in, but then you have to know how to use your avatar. It's like showing up to try a case. It's one thing to walk into the courtroom. It's another thing to win the case. And by doing that, you have to do the same thing in the metaverse that you would do in a courtroom. And that is, you want to use the room. Your avatar is looking at your hands. So when I go like this in the metaverse, my avatar is going like this. When I shake my head, or when I raise my eyes, or I smile, oftentimes, depending on the platform, the avatar is doing the same thing. So we tell our clients, work the room, right? Use anchor points. So if I'm talking in front of a group of 12 executives, I'm walking up and down the conference room table, back and forth in front of them. When I'm talking about something that's powerful and positive, I'll be on the left side of the screen. When I'm talking about something negative, I'll usually go over to the right side of the screen. I do the same thing in court. Something positive is when I'm closer to the witness stand, the witness stand, as opposed to if it's something negative I need to talk about. I don't want to, but I need to. I'll usually be as far away from the witness stand as I can be, because I want them to associate whoever I put in that witness stand as a positive, powerful, important component of my case. You can do the same thing in the metaverse. So we talk about, use the room that you're in, work your avatar around, use storytelling and the power of metaphors and voice inflection to keep the attention of your audience. And doing these things while you're, for example, in front of 200 potential jurors, right? Because you want to figure out what message is ringing the right bells. You can change all of these things up easily. And I see that as being a big application for some of the things we're talking about. The more you use this technology, the more comfortable you get and the easier it is. This is not rocket science. This is about as complicated as getting ready for your first deposition. And I really mean that. Once you've done it, once you've taken a couple of depots, you're good to go. You don't need the cheat sheets. You know what questions to ask. Yes, there's always some fine tuning that you want to always improve upon. But that's about as complicated as what we're talking about with the metaverse. And so I want lawyers to give themselves permission. Give yourself permission to try something new. Give yourself permission to jump into metaverse platforms, private ones, where it's just the four of us, right? And we jump in and we have a conversation and we show people how to use our tablets. Each of these platforms has a control tablet where I can touch a button and bring up a video. I can touch a button and bring up a photo. I can use spatial audio. So what's being discussed at the far side of the conference room, we can't hear here, just like in real life. There are so many things you can do once you know how to do it, to make the experience pleasurable for everyone.
Right.
I'm picturing a lot of listeners and viewers out there with the mind blown emoji, Mitch. That's what I'm picturing.
Awesome.
I don't think a lot of people are aware, they don't either have the time to invest in it and learn this stuff, which is totally understandable. But that's why we wanted to have someone like you on to open people's eyes to what's out there, the universe of possible. So let's talk about something else. I mean, John will probably laugh because I've done enough appellate arguments that I start thinking about ridiculous hypotheticals. And one of the ones that keeps coming back to me when I think about the metaverse is accident reconstruction and where the line is going to have to get drawn, because one of our mentors is Joe Freed. He happens to be in Atlanta, but he's a phenomenal trucking lawyer, an even better person. And he puts on a monthly breakfast, meet and learn. And one of the recent ones, he had a few specialists who do accident reconstruction. They explain all the data points they're capturing with all of their equipment and everything. And I'm sitting there in that conference room and I'm watching some of these demo videos of real accident recons they've done for trucking cases, and they're hyper realistic. And right then and there, this was maybe, I think 2 months ago, I stopped and I was like, what's stopping us from actually being in that accident recon next? Yep. Standing on the side of the road, watching the accident happen, because it seems to me it's not that hard to get there at this point with technology, no?
Absolutely. I love the way you think. Yeah, I did a post back in 2016 of trying a case with my toes in the sand down here in Southern California at our local beach, Strands Beach, one of my favorite beaches in the world, and picking a jury from around the world and being in a virtual courtroom. And instead of going to a accident location or a factory floor where products are being made that allegedly are defective, you're virtually transporting people into these spaces and letting them experience in real time, how things are done or what it feels like to drive down the road at 55 miles an hour in a large tractor trailer type of scenario, and how much can actually happen when that driver takes his, her, or their eyes off the road to look down at their phone, how they travel the length of a football field at 55 miles an hour in 3 to 5 seconds. And I mean, imagine putting someone in that seat and letting them experience that adrenaline rush. And then, depending on the judge's rulings, the consequences of that negligent and dangerous conduct. I do see this as being something that's a part of the future. But the caveat to that, Jordan, is, the dark web, fake videos and fake audios. And that was part of one of my presentations as I contributed chapter 52 or 54 to our continuing education of the bar evidence book. And it was all about social media and digital, and primarily focused on authenticity and foundation, which is what we need to establish out here in California. How do we do that now? How do we know that video, that reconstruction that you just described is accurate, is authentic, hasn't been altered, right? And so the deep fake technology right now that we're that we haven't talked about, that I'm bringing up, incorporates into these metaverse environments. How do I know, Jordan and John, when I see you in a space, that that's really you?
Right.
How do I know that it's not somebody else impersonating you and saying things that you would never say? How do I know a corporate executive who appears at one of my conferences in the metaverse, who raises his or her hand and says something about their stock prices, isn't actually a plant? And so there are a lot of new legal issues, which I'm excited about. I see more opportunity for lawyers moving forward because of all of the above than ever before, whether it's contract law, whether it's IP, intellectual property law, whether it's fraud, whether it's due diligence. There are so many opportunities right now for all of us to not only just use these platforms and leverage their power, but also to represent clients who want to do the same thing. And my daughter's, who's a third year at Shepherd Mullen in Century City, she gets it. She and her practice group, and they're in the IP litigation practice group right now. The partners that have been there for 50 years, people like me, are seeing more opportunity right now in the legal profession to help the consumer, to add value than they've ever seen in their entire careers.
I don't do IP law. I won't even pretend to know the first thing about it, but I have some common sense and life experience. I have to imagine that's a natural marriage or opportunity for growth in this legal sector, because we're talking about NFTs. Maybe it's applied to a song, right? Or a painting or a home or anything else in the metaverse, but we still have real life, real laws, real entitlement, from an authentic ownership standpoint.
Sure.
IP litigation, I would imagine, or trying to avoid IP litigation. Yeah, that's a massive space, I'm sure.
It's huge. And one of the challenges that we're experiencing is if I was going to meet the two of you in one of my virtual offices, what we're doing ahead of time, it takes like 5 minutes. That's how easy it is to use these tools. Is I would bring in your law firm logo and I'd put it up on the wall. I would bring in one of your most recent marketing videos or testimonials about you and put it up on the wall. You can play videos just floating in the air. So when you walk into the space, you're going to walk into a customized environment that shows that we care enough about you that we tweaked it out to kind of promo you before the meeting. And clients love this. It doesn't take much time to do this. But when I'm grabbing your logo, do I have the right to do that? Am I violating your copyright by taking a logo from your website and putting it in a virtual conference space? So these are things that people just need to think about, and then do your own due diligence, consult a lawyer in your state and figure out what's right for you. But it's just exciting to have these options, because I'm